Hey all, it's Paul from Drums and Rums with the Backbeats Meets Spirits. This episode was taped during the weekend of the Miami Rum Renaissance Festival, and we got a chance to sit down with Shamus and Steven from Rum Rats. And I got a chance to catch up with them, and we taped this live on location at the down at the event. So we were out on the road, and we taped the podcast episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Hey all, this is Paul from Drums and Rums with the Backbeats Meets Spirits, and we've got a great, last minute kind of podcast episode that we're taping here today. We were down here in Miami at Coral Gables, and we ran into our guest here yesterday on day one of the Miami Rum Renaissance Festival, and we're going to learn more about these guys here. And so, as I said, we started the festival off, and yesterday was a great first day of tasting and sampling and learning a lot about from the Western Indies rum distillery and the companies that they have, as well as, again, the samplings, right? So, of course, talking rum, in this episode, we also have a connection to renowned distiller and blender Don Pancho Fernandez, but we also have some stories about the Warped Tour, too. Which we'll get into it. Yeah, I'm sure there's definitely some story. There's always a story, right? There's a story behind every bottle, right? So, let me introduce our guest to the podcast, Steve and Shamus of Rum Rats. How you guys doing?
Great.
Very well,
Good to be here.
Yeah, Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so you guys are from Canada?
Yes, sir.
And you
That's
got born in So from Canada.
I'll pull this off for now.
There you
That's
go.
it.
Okay, that's fine.
We got the intro.
Yeah, there we go.
We're good. I'll be sweating. I'll be sweating that.
Like it gets a little hot.
Sweating a rum from last night, maybe.
Does that mask get a little funky?
Yeah, I got two of them. I got a spare.
Okay, there you go.
If it gets if I'm dancing in that all night, I switch up.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, last night we're taping this on the Sunday of the second day of just before we start the second day of the festival here, where it's the grand tasting and all the exhibitors, and the guys had asked about where's the place to go eat last night, and it was like, yeah, you got to go to La Trova. You're gonna experience the Miami. You're gonna experience the Cuban feel, the music, there's a lot of energy in that place.
Unbelievable. We got in there. We didn't know what to expect. It was packed. You got to book a table. So if you're ever going to La Trova, Cafe La Trova, because there's a couple La Trovas, and you got to book a table if you're going to eat, and the food is phenomenal. Luckily, we stuck it out. We got a couple drinks. We're just arm in arm. Bar space opened up, and they just started feeding us appetizers. One after another started giving us some appetizers. Yeah. We did give them a bottle of booze, and then the sommelier came over, got a little sniff. He thought this was fantastic. He said, "I'm not a rum guy, but this is drinkable. This is what I like."
He had his poker face on initially.
Yeah.
You could tell he was holding up to the light, checking for the oils and everything. Right. But then his eyebrows gave him away because whenever he had his first taste, he essentially, you could tell he was impressed. So that was a good indicator for us.
It's a great feeling when you take a non-rum drinker and surprise them with something that they did not expect. And that's really part of the fun of the business.
And that's the book can be deceiving, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of that goes where whatever the juice is in the bottle could be packaged really well and maybe not so good, and vice versa. I mean, unless you're a long-term name company or very rooted and people know who you are, or things that are out of the Caribbean, you could put a very plain bottle.
Sure.
That's right.
And because people are, that's so-and-so.
Yep.
But when you're new, you got to kind of claw your way, right? You're
That's right. You can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, as you say, right? So we have to be cognizant of the brand appeal. It's don't judge a book by its cover and all that. So whenever you walk into the liquor store and that's your first impression, right? So for us, as we're essentially starting out, the brand, the rum is the cornerstone of our brand. Starting out with a good product,
juice first,
exactly.
Juiced, forward thinking, and that came from where we got our lessons. And we can segue right into that.
Yeah, no, like. That's perfect because that's what I was wanting. I was like, so interesting name for a rum brand. And how did this all come about, right?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I
don't think actually I even introduced the names. So bad on me as I introduced Steve and Shamus, but so yes, Rum Rats. There we go.
Yeah,
yes. Now we get the reference.
Yeah. So and also Steven's Irish, by the way. He's an Irishman. So you said Canadian. I'm the Canadian.
Okay.
He's the European leg here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll do subtitles later for the audio
That's
podcast.
great. Closed captions.
Those captions, right?
Available, translator.
So the name, like honestly, I'm an '80s child, born in 1979. Okay. Kind of grew up in that '80s era, and that kind of skateboard punk rock scene, really like that. But then you get back to the Rat Pack and where my parents came from, and that kind of, that it's not a negative connotation at all for us. It's positive, if anything. You kind of, and it's interesting, and we kind of are rats sniffing out the good barrels. So you can imagine we're out there, we're kind of ratting it out, sniffing around, finding the good stuff. So when you're in the aging room and you're with like Carlos Esquivel from Pilsa and he's knocking on barrels and you're sucking out juice and you're kind of sniffing around because it's tight in there too. It's like it's neat, and I just thought it was a good name too. I think we all really agree it's different.
Yeah, and then there's the chemistry side of it too, like the lab rat aspect of it, where the science behind the rum, because like obviously it's age-old traditions,
right.
But there's recipes and there's the right way and the wrong way to go about it. So from and we're kind of lab rats ourselves on the experimental side, tasting all these different things, seeing what we like and what we don't like, because that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Like everybody's got a broad array of tastes and things like that. So for us, we're very pleased with the taste of the rum, and we look forward to you trying it as well here for the first time.
Yeah,
which is
I haven't
exciting.
tried it yet, so this is a full first impression.
We're ready for you.
Yeah.
So Steve, you're because you've got a science background, so you're like
That's correct.
Dr. Nefario.
Well, it depends. And it's I've always had an interest in science since I was knee-high to nothing, and for me, science, chemistry, and even into my day job, I have a strong science background. I've got a Bachelor of Science with honours as one of my degrees as well. So it's definitely been something that I can apply to this to a degree, and it's something that in terms of the curiosity, it's I always say every day is a school day. There's not a day you don't learn something new. Right. So coming into rum, I'm essentially coming in eyes wide open as well. Being Irish, I traditionally was a whiskey drinker. Swore off rum in my teenage years for over imbibing a couple of times, but having met Shamus and tried the rum, it really actually turned me right around. So now I'm all in on the rum.
Yeah, and I had my dad on last year during the Father's Day episode, right? And it was one of those, get a chance to sit down with him, and like I was saying earlier, he's from Scotland, and it was a chance to ask some questions, and of course he's like, well, I don't play the drums, but I drink rum. I'm like, okay, well, it's fair enough, right? And he talked about in the UK, and again, it goes back to the history of all the movies of the pirates and the Royal Navy, is how rum was super big, and then it kind of went away, and then taste changed, right? So now I think rum is definitely in an upswing here. And so
surpassed whiskey sales in England.
Wow.
UK in general.
UK in general. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll get that straight. Sorry. So. Okay. Don't quote me on any of these things. Just kind of what's being out there. Yeah, the naval rum history is really cool. Getting what'd they get?
It was quarter rum a day. 3 square meals a day.
That's right. Your daily tot.
Your daily tot. Yeah. Oh wow. I mean. Well, how much was it exactly? Am I on that, I think? Am I on that diet right now?
Yeah, I'm close to it anyway. No, but the interesting thing about it as well, because as we all know, back those days, cleanliness was not next to godliness, in some pretty horrific conditions, seaward voyages and stuff like that. So having something that you could use to sterilize as well, it probably saw a lot of the longevity in those sailors inadvertently killing the germs whenever they were drinking
after a visit to port.
That's that's true.
It's not other things. You go to port, there's other things you might get sick from. But
That's
anyway. So yeah. So how? All right.
Scurvy cure was scurvy cure, but maybe syphilis cure too.
Well, yeah.
Hey, cut that one out.
Yeah, there you go. This podcast is brought to you by Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah.
The new Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah.
There you go. In the
Brought to
bottle.
you by Rum the Sterilizer.
Dr. Rum.
Not authorized by the CDC.
Yeah.
Not yet.
So you've got so the name. All right, makes sense.
Yep.
But how did it come about, right?
Okay, well, I'll
Did it
go
wake
dive
up?
in. We gotta get a little more history.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah.
So I spent 18 years off and on. Well, basically 18 years straight and a little bit more. So roughly half my life. I'm 42, and I spent half my life in Latin America. Nicaragua. I started businesses there, ran some businesses, met our other business partner, who's my neighbor actually in Nicaragua, and he's just another smart dude doing good things, and he's a big rum drinker, and we just saw an opportunity of like, hey, we got all this energy, we're still young, why don't we do something we love? Like, what do we want to do? And we were thinking about we had a surf and fishing charter boat after COVID and a bit of a revolution in Nicaragua. We were like, okay, well, I need a job and I want to do something I love, so over a lot of rum, we're like looking at it going, this is really good rum, and Canada, where I'm from, really needs it. I feel like the rum's all good. I'm not going to slag anything. I'm just saying there's room for expansion. I don't know if you agree.
Rum brands in general in Canada is pretty non-existent.
Well, it's just 5 brands. Or and some people import some good stuff. There's some great importers, some really good taste selection, but it's not broadly known. And we just felt like I've been drinking rum now since I moved to Nicaragua. I've been Florida Caña was kind of a great brand there, but there's other good brands. There's Mombachos and all these kind of things, and there's a very, very unique rum culture there. They're very, like all Latin American countries, they all think their rum's the best, but they're all really good. They're all amazing. So we decided to start this rum company, and not being able to kind of establish a business in Nicaragua at the time, we started searching out, and that's where we found Pilsa and Carlos Esquivel. I call him Don Carlos. It's an endearing term. He's the Don. He's the guy who actually gave me my master class. So basically, after conversation with Carlos, I'm really learning about how the rum is done, how the kind of history of where they're going with. He's the partner of Don Pancho in the Pilsa distillery out of Panama. Don Pancho is, he's still there. He's still functioning as a member, but we generally work directly with Carlos Esquivel, and he's just a wealth of information and really great. And every time I speak to him, I learn something new. So when we get into the rum, I'll tell you about it.
Yeah,
and we can do that.
Okay.
We want to segue into something else there.
No,
just to give them a bit of background in terms of it's. Canada, in terms of the province, it's not like the US to where there's spirits more specifically are readily available. In Ontario, as an example, it's the Liquor Control Board of Ontario, LCBO, is the only place that you can buy spirits if you were to actually go, shopping to what we would call off license in the UK. It's only been relatively recently, within the last, just prior to COVID, that you could actually buy beer and wine in the grocery stores, never mind convenience stores. So it's very tightly moderated there, and as a result, even if you take it back just in and around that same time, 3-4 years ago, the beer brands and stuff were pretty much the top contenders that you would normally expect to see down here in the US. But then with the resurgence or the birth of the IPAs and the microbreweries and things like that,
all the craft,
all the craft like that has, as I'm sure down here, has kind of blown up the world over, right? So from a rum perspective, if you were walking in there, you would pretty much just see the brands that you would expect to see. There isn't really the avenue or the vehicle for the brands like ourselves to break through. So for us, but it fits well with us in terms of the groundswell, right? Because like I mentioned earlier, you start with a good product, you build a good team, you get people to try your rum, and then you start to expand from there, right? Because where we live is where Shamus is from originally, and where I now live is a relatively small community, and a group of communities on a peninsula. But the strength in that community is like it's something you have to see to believe in terms of the charity. You know, the whenever I first moved there, and this is not a word of exaggeration, I moved up from Atlanta, Georgia. And the first 5 years that I lived there with a group of my friends, I didn't even own a house key. Our front door was always open. The trucks were never locked. Like it was pretty much like a Disney movie, white picket fence and all that. And like having grown up in Belfast in the 80s during the height of the Troubles, it was like I was living on a different planet, you know. So
yeah. That's it. There's tons of support for us in our community. Yeah. I was born and raised in my hometown, and so was my parents. And my dad worked for the LCBO for 35 years.
Okay,
so he knows a lot of people, and it seems like every bar that they want to help out, they want to support kind of new and local brands. Right. You know, and it's a great place. But I'm situated in Toronto now. I live in Parkdale. It's kind of like the fun bar area. And
you do lock your doors, though, right?
Oh, I definitely lock my doors in Parkdale. Yeah, it's double keyed. But honestly, there's a great support there as well. It's just the bar scene is awesome, and we're definitely bar forward thinking brand. We really want to support the bars, the mixologists, the bartenders, and we want to support that industry as much as possible. So. It's not just retail for us. It's bars and restaurants, because that's what I like to do. I love a good restaurant. I love a good cocktail.
Look, and you're going down that path, right? Is, as we were saying, you've got brand, and then you have the product, right? There's a lot that are, and before I even got into this, I just assumed every bottle that's on a shelf in a liquor store, there's somebody making that behind that brand, right? So if you're Paul's Rum that's on that shelf, I have a distillery somewhere. And then I learned about, that's not always the case, right? Which is fun. It's a different perspective, different business model, different things and so forth. And so the brand is important, right? You've got your community, you've got to build up your team, you got to build up your... And then they'll go with you anywhere, right? Yeah. Because they believe in you, they believe in your product, they believe in all the things you do, and especially one of your charity things I want to talk to you guys about. But we'll try to pin that for when we come around to it. So,
totally.
Yep. So the rum. Let's get to the rum now, right? So we don't necessarily have to crack it open just a moment. Okay. So we're gonna slow this in, right? Okay. So I know you're itching. I know.
It's good. It's getting around that time. Yeah, 5 o'clock somewhere.
That's right. Yeah. So. The rum. So now you're in Central America. You've met your partner, Greg?
Jason Gardner.
Yep. And you have this idea, and like a lot of people that have the ideas when they're in the Caribbean, right? It would be great, to have our own rum brand. But you guys actually did it. So, okay, now the two of you have got this idea now.
It's it's reaching out and really getting the time and having someone like Don Carlos Esquivel take you serious.
Right.
He gets to choose. He's going to say I like the kind of the style these guys are going with. They're serious, and I think they can go somewhere, because he just won't waste his time if it's not someone that's going to do it right. And so basically you got to go down and take the time. It takes effort and time and energy, and if you don't have that energy to do it, like you're just not going to make it.
Right.
It takes and the rum industry is a small industry. It's really family first, and to become part of that family, it really means a lot.
Right.
And I guess we're lucking out right now.
Yeah. No,
we got a good family. We got a good team. We got some trust behind us, and I think with this momentum and Steven Bell coming in, and his wife as well. Elsa's our other partner as well. We didn't mention her, but
we'll get there.
We'll get there. But that's kind of how it happens. I mean, I did the research. I did a lot of research. I kind of took my time, and then started really just seeing it come to fruition.
Okay. So, and then that's important, right? You knew that going in that
it's a study. It's going to school.
You weren't just going to show up at his doorstep and say, "Hey, make me rum." You've got to do your homework.
No,
right?
you go to the school.
Right.
It's kind of like the Kung Fu, where he had to sit outside the temple, all through all kinds of weather to prove that he was worthy. Like it's because having been relatively new to this and having experienced expos and whiskey fests and things like that, the first thing that I did notice was how much tighter and closer the community were, and I mean this respectfully, like a lot less stuffy. Like there's definitely that element of they don't take themselves as serious. Like you're not dealing with the old boy networks to the same extent, and things like that. So just from an optics perspective and from my relatively new dalliance in it, like it seems it's a breath of fresh air,
right?
And it's good to see that, because it's just the experience yesterday at the convention, and just watching the interactions with people and things like that. Like there was no airs and graces. Like everybody was like, not, I wouldn't say overly friendly, but like extremely like pleased to meet you and all that sort of stuff. It was really good, and I was quite surprised.
And truly out there to help.
Yeah.
I mean, no one wants to see anyone do bad. Like everyone's out there upping everybody.
That's right.
Right. And I know there's other stories that I've had people share on the podcast where similarly they started out and it didn't go over very well with the communities, but then they asked for help and said, well, how do I make this, and asked for input and took it, and then the people said, all right, well, you are serious about this, right? You took our feedback and input. And I mean, this whole thing is, as they say, right? Rum is fun. There's no rules.
Yep.
And look, we're all having to get. I mean, do we see a bunch of bourbon and whiskey drinkers like hanging out and nobody's wearing shorts and flip flops, right? And
well,
I guess
right.
maybe
they don't got the dancing behind them.
No, I know.
It's all life's a dance.
I've heard there was a certain rat at a restaurant last night, that was a dancing fool, right? So, but I'm not going to say anything more about that. You have to check social media for that kind of stuff.
All I know is like if there's any salsa lessons that anybody out there knows of that we could sign a certain rat up for,
I could use some salsa lessons for sure.
Yes,
I'm open for dates.
Yeah.
So going into the approaching Don Carlos, did you have a profile in mind or what you wanted, or did you kind of come in with your homework and then him?
Yes. So, two ways. So you really got to take what the market is saying, and Don Carlos has his fingers on that pulse of the market. Okay. So for him, he goes, well, what are you kind of liking? Where is your kind of your client price range? What you want to kind of get into? We kind of wanted to come in, base floor here on a 5-year. We didn't want to just jump in and be the 25-year $300 bottle of rum, because no one would trust us. Mm-hmm. So we really wanted to say, hey, we're working with a really good base. Let's start with a 5, a bourbon barrel aged 5. Get it out there. It's just the surest sipper as a mixer, and I kind of listened to Carlos saying that. We thought, hey, we'll do white rum. He's like, you can't compete in white rum right now. The big boys have white rum, and you're not a big boy. So, so I don't. Let's cut that. But you know what I mean? We're not there yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get what you mean. I mean, again, you're competing against a jug handle of Bacardi.
Yes. For $15, and just the time and effort, like the bottling and labeling, we're losing business right away. And you know what? It's not all about dollars and cents for us, but we still need to be able to make a bit of a living here.
Right.
So that's what happens. You get there, and then for flavor profiling, you go and they just send samples and you just start picking it up. So we want to do something funky, a little more Jamaican style, but this is a Cuban style elegant rum. So it's really it's that smoothness, and we really wanted to stick with that bourbon-esque kind of ethos of alcohol where it's non-chill filtered. We're not filtering anything. It's basically cellulose filtering, so you get those oils. When you chill filter, the oils float to the top, they scrape it off, and you get a very clear alcohol, but it's too alcohol forward. And this way, yes, this is alcohol forward. When you taste it, you'll know this, but you get that last bit of viscosity sitting on the tongue, and that's what I like. I wanted to have something that was interesting, and that kind of is, for a 5-year, this is true 5 as well. The youngest year in this mix in this blend, is 5. That doesn't mean there's not an 8 or a 10 in there, right? And so we take those samples, and I'm not really part of that full on geeked out, like seeing every single barrel. I'm like, hey, give me something like this. And then they go, here's 5 samples. And then I go, mix these two together. And then I go, okay, and then we try that. And we go, oh, but hey, add a little bit of this. And that's kind of where it goes. And it's fun. It's fun. It's a long, arduous process, but it's the whole point of it, right?
Right.
And then you get something that you like, and you start bringing it to market, and hope people can see why you brought it to market, rather than just kind of slag it and be like, what do these guys know? Or something, you know?
And like there's definitely an element that's starting to become apparent in rum and like across other industries, where people are really beginning to care about what's in their rum. So they want to know if it's ethically sourced. They want to make sure that it's sustainable. These are aspects that speak to people, and like that's something that's important to us as well, because we can stand behind that, right? And it's part of our ethos as well, in terms of bringing people along for the journey, right? Because like we are grassroots, like we are creating the groundswell. We are guerrilla marketing. What you see is what you get. Like, you want to talk to somebody in Rum Rats, chances are you're going to be talking to one of the 4 of us, right? Like, we're not hiding behind anything. You're not rubbing elbows with suits. Like, this is it. This is ground floor. You know.
Right.
And here, and the other thing that he's saying about working with a sustainable, ethical company, Pilsa it's doing that. It's sharecropping and paying farmers properly, doing the right things, and really. Just employee forward thinking. So when we went down and toured the distillery, every employee's handshaking Don Carlos's hand, and he's the boss man. Right. And so they care. They really care, and that's something. I mean, I'm not going to say bad things about anybody, but not everyone has that history.
Right.
So finding that for us was very important. Yeah. And then just liking people.
And I think that's a big thing right now is this. I don't want to call it a surge, but more awareness is going on in the rum world, right? And especially with the GI indication that Barbados is kind of putting out there, and we talked about it yesterday about certain other spirits have their claims on things, and people don't get it with rum, right? Because they don't understand, and they don't understand to that point. Yeah. Most people don't even know. Most people don't even realize that how much of a difference in rums on the different islands are.
That's right. Even yesterday, finding out it honestly can make such a differentiate to the flavor, what direction the wind's blowing. Yeah.
Right.
Like stuff like that, and like in terms of the region and where this is made and things like that. That it's not just that awareness, but it's people's curiosity. Like they're actually willing to ask a couple of points past that. They're not just taking it at face value. They're just to say, I don't care because I'm just going to be mixing it with Coke or whatever. Right. Like they actually, and when they do find out these little additional bits of information, you're actually more invested in it as well. Yeah. And like we have the ability to give them that additional information and kind of feed their curiosity. And then that combined whenever they taste it, like it tends to be quite a surprise,
Like in our marketing, you can see if you take the bottle, it's got more information on this than almost anything you see on the shelf. So, you got your single origin, your traditional Panamanian style. You've got tropically aged. We've got column still, non-chill filtered, molasses base, bourbon barrel aged. All this kind of stuff's on there. Right. And a single origin rum and the map of the area, the Arco Seco region. So that's where the cane is growing. That's where the distillery is, and that's the area. And that's the saying goes, and I didn't make this up, is where the warm Caribbean air meets the cool Pacific breeze. And we're like, this is the Arco Seco, and that's the area it's from, and that's where we kind of went with that. And I think that makes it interesting. And if you're going to make a trip, if you're wondering where to go on a vacation, come on down to the Arco Seco region, go surfing, see a distillery, drink some rum, enjoy the tropical lifestyle. Yeah. I spent the last 15 years of my life on a surfboard, on a surf break. So this is what I sell rum, and then I want to sell it so I can go surf again.
So if you're going to Central America, I'll give you Shamus's phone number. You can call him for
tour guide. Feel free.
Seriously.
travel agency.
You want a Spanish-speaking tour guide, and therefore
it's all part of the experience.
I'll also teach people how to surf. I love pushing people on a foam top.
Yeah, and the other part, like in terms of ingredients, like there's no additives, no preservatives, like there's not chemical compounds on there that you can't pronounce, things like that. Like it's about that purity. It's about that simplicity. That's essentially what our brand is.
100% puro, like all things good.
Do I have to do now 3 different languages in this?
Well, I have barely mastered English, despite it being my first language. So,
well, what did he say yesterday? Was
give us a limerick.
Yeah.
Am I hearing an Irish limerick?
No. Oh well, I guess we can't curse in this one. But no, somebody made a comment yesterday about they were learning English here. I was like, you're trying to learn English in Miami. Yeah. Good luck. No.
Well, when I was immigrating to Canada, I filled in my application, and it was a pretty arduous process, as you can imagine. Like I will have been in Canada 16 years in January, and I've done 3 full laps of the world since I was 18, living and working in various countries all over the world. So you have to compile all your background information everywhere you've lived for longer than 3 months, etc. And I'd submitted it all, and then I got a letter back saying that I had to sit an English test. So I was like, I called the company that had issued the letter, and ironically, it was a girl called Megan Shaughnessy. And when I spoke to her, she had a Northern Irish accent, and I recognized the accent because it's about 10 minutes away from where I grew up. So I said, what's going on here? Obviously I can speak English. And she said, don't take offense to it. It's just a requirement and everything. So when I told my friends back home that was my mistake, that I told them that I had to sit an English
forget
test.
They never let.
Oh, I know.
Brutal.
I don't know. Like I always said I had, found that certificate in the back of a cereal box, or printed it myself, or whatever.
Well, it's not like they thought you would have a like Brad Pitt's accent in Snatch.
Don't even start me on that. Don't even start.
All right, we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk later off camera on that.
He likes dags.
In our defense, for everybody out there that's from Northern Ireland, arguably the most difficult accent to mimic, because it's got so many lilts and all that sort of stuff, and you don't know whether we've been drinking or anything like that. So, ironically, I get easier to understand the more rum I ingest. So maybe that's
okay. The more rum I ingest.
There we go. Yeah. So maybe that's a good segue then, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. Yes.
Let's get popping.
So made in with bourbon barrels. So let's hit all the key parts here.
So
right? Okay.
Heaven Hills Distillery, bourbon company, sustainable as well. So I guess every tree that they cut down to make a American oak barrel, they plant X amount of trees. So it's pretty neat.
Yep.
Very distinguished bourbon company. Right. So the barrels get shipped down, and then we're doing a column still, Cuban style column still for the base. It comes off still roughly. Don't start quoting me on all this stuff. It's been a while. About 96%. Okay. Really good white rum though. Like I've had it right off the still warm, and I could drink it.
It's smooth.
It's smooth, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's what Carlos was always saying. He's saying base first, and then we can do whatever we want with barrels. We can bring in Irish whiskey barrels. We can bring in sherry. We can do anything we want. Base first, and that's where Don Pancho really comes in. It's his expertise of 50 years of rum making. Between the two, that's 50 years of experience. Dude, no one can compete. Right. I mean, it's the best of the best.
Right.
So.
And we have a cask strength too, not just this.
We have a cask
43
strength we gave to the Burrs from the show. So if he's got it kicking around, you might be able to give it a taste.
Right.
Yeah, there might be one winging its way to you here when you come up to Canada, since you've got relatives in Toronto, I believe.
We'll ship one down to you. Don't worry.
We'll have to. I think they're coming down for Thanksgiving, so we'll talk a little bit more offline. Yeah. We're just saying coming. I was like, I got family up there, so.
So then it's like I said, the youngest year in this blend is 5.
Okay.
Aged in the tropics, clearly in the aging room. It's you walk in there, you can't have any flash photography, you can't have anything lit. You walk in, you start sweating rum. It's beautiful. You're getting a little buzz on, just the angel shares just all over,
floating around.
Well, because it's so humid, but it's dry. It's so yesterday when they were talking about the distilleries being on the ocean and that kind of moldy kind of thing that screw up the flavor. where we're aging, it's in the driest area. So you get like this really hot, dry air, but then you get into the room and it's just sweating with rum, and it's pretty cool. It's a cool experience. There's 5,000 barrels in the room. Wow. You're like, whoa, like, it's trippy.
Yeah. I haven't been in a distillery outside of the U.S. yet, but I'm just different.
Put it on the list.
Put it on your list, man. Come on down to Rum Rats trip. We'll make a whole documentary.
There you go. What's that? Surf Nicaragua? Is that a
Surf Panama this time?
Panama. There you go. Yeah. Well, was it a band or a song? I may have been screwing it up.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. There's our trivia question for the week. So
there you go.
Answers on a postcard, please.
Yeah. So 87% proof or 87 proof?
Yeah, 43. So
okay.
42 and a half, give or take, but it's
right.
Yep.
So not a whole lot of bringing it down as it comes out.
Well,
you said 9.
I think what we're going to do is we get an age profile into the 8s. We're releasing an 8. We'll probably up the alcohol percentage a little bit because the flavors will be to kind of come out a little different.
Yeah.
I think when you want to proof to something where it's palatable for the average consumer.
Yep.
But you also want the rum guys to want it. So this kind of like 3% over is maybe in your mind a little bit, but also I think with something that's only 5 in a barrel that you want to kind of proof it so you can get the flavor out of it.
So let me ask.
I would add water to this, like we said yesterday in the thing. They actually, when they do tasting, they're proofing it to 20%. 20% to 40 proof. Like
right.
And that's where you're going to get the true essence of the flavor. So, I would even add a little water to this personally to get, if you really want to taste what is coming out of it, you want to get those tropical notes, you're going to get bananas, you're going to get pineapple. The yeast strain is proprietary pineapple strain for when we do the mash and stuff. So you're going to get that tropical funkiness, but also you're getting the bourbon, right? So then you're going to get that aftertone of the smoke. You're going to get that little bit of oak in there. You're going to get that
interesting.
It's pretty neat. But that's why we proofed it to that number, if you're asking.
Okay.
The cask strength, if I give it to someone who doesn't drink rum, they're just like, fire. And they're like, well, then don't drink the cask strength.
Right.
Let's add some water to that.
Yeah. Because whiskey and bourbons aren't typically proofed even that high.
No.
Right.
I think we're in Canada we just 40%. So 80 proof is the go-to. A lot of good whiskeys right now are doing into the 50s.
Okay.
Like if you're gonna buy like $100 bottle of whiskey, it's probably gonna be 53, 54%.
Okay. All right.
And you know what? I think the bartenders love it because now you're making a cocktail without the water in it. So you've got the base thing, and you can use a half a shot now, and you can add all your flavor into making this really cool daiquiri or pina colada or anything you're doing, mojitos or any cocktail. All the crazy cocktails you're making now, the bartenders love a cask strength, and it's not really available to anyone, so we really are selling it to the bars. We're usually giving a bar a gift of this, saying, hey, advertise this, people can come in and you'll be the one that has it. That's a bar support that we kind of pull.
So what was it? Let's step back here. So the time frame here when you first reached out to
I'm 5 years into this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So just really starting it
2017-ish.
Yeah, 2017, 2018.
Okay.
Really focusing on it, to getting that kind of the idea to fruition, and kind of getting kind of finances together.
Got it.
And that's where our fourth business partner Jason, he's a heavy intelligent investor, and he's just a sounding board for everything finance, and he's just the great person to have on the team.
Good.
And I think with us we've built something pretty unique as a team.
It's
a family. We're a family now.
We're the sum of all parts, it's what we call achieving success together, right? And the thing about it is being our focus, that it's a passion project too, right? And that's the differentiator. We don't look at it as a job, right? You have to love what you do, and you'll never work a day in your life,
right?
Kind of thing, right?
This stuff's fun. We like this.
Yeah.
I like dancing.
Yeah.
Not very good at it, but he likes it.
Hey,
He looked honestly looked like he
dancing's
was,
in the eye of the
All right.
beholder.
it looks like he was getting teased.
So, Steve, what you're telling me then is if he's not good and you just talked about the sum of all parts, that just means you're the good dancer.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what I was saying.
All right, we're gonna see. We're
In the ring, bro. Is it?
Yeah, just ask my wife.
Yeah.
Nobody else.
all right. So that's 2017. How much in the first bottle went in the bottle?
So this is right now we're pivoting and everything's getting bottled in Panama.
Okay.
Single origin. That's the way we're going to do it. But
Right.
to start, we shipped it up in bulk and
Okay.
got it into Canada, thinking we could get into a small distillers program. But since we didn't touch the rum and it wasn't made in Canada, the LCBO, and we were like, nope. And so we're sitting on 5 pallets of rum going, wow, I guess our new job is marketing and distributing this 5 pallets, but we're almost done them.
Right,
And it
okay.
worked out well for us. We've got lots of support and licensees. And so you're going to see the next thing is a label kind of revamp and a new bottle. And
Okay.
we're going to be bottling all in Panama.
And I'm sure the whole pandemic, the bottling inventory, and I've talked to a lot of people about that. It's,
Like,
Go ahead.
we mentioned earlier on, like out of the pandemic, obviously terrible time, but in Ontario specifically because they're like so stringent on the rules. A lot of people were suffering in terms of small businesses, restaurants, all that sort of stuff.
Right.
So they had to pivot, as they say,
Yep.
and look at aspects of how they could make it easier for purveyors to get their brand out there. So they have what they call DTC, direct to customer.
Okay.
So like Shamus can explain how you set up the website and things like that, because that was a directional change. So.
Yeah, so you need a license, and it's strict. So it took roughly a year and a half to get my AGCO license.
Okay.
So with that, I can actually, and my Smart Serve, I can sell direct to consumer. So
Okay.
you can actually buy it through our bottling distillery in Canada from their site, and it goes through their distiller's license. And then I'm an AGCO rep, so I can then sell it to you on the street, or I'm on the street, but I mean on the
Yeah,
bar or
right,
whatever, or,
right.
you know. And so as long as it goes through those channels, it's now open. So it's better for, like, it was not you could never sell alcohol to someone private before the pandemic. So out of the pandemic, we got that out of it. I mean,
Right.
so it helped us. But that said, we really are focusing on shipping directly from Panama now.
Right. Okay.
And now with shipping costs, like we kind of just dodged a bullet on that. It went 8x during COVID. I'm not sure if you knew this, but you know, one shipping container could be 5,000 US, and then it jumped to 18,000 and even into the 20s. That means that rum has to be $100.
Right.
So,
yeah.
It's a tough go.
You know, and again, I think that's, as you said, just because there's a lot of the brands that have the longevity and history and story, you know, or if you were just actually the person making the product yourself and selling it, you know, it's at the end of the day, it's still a business, right? You wouldn't be doing something that you're losing money on, right?
Yeah.
And there's many stories of that, right? There's somebody's got a great product, but just unfortunately doesn't happen.
That's right. And the other aspect to that, which fits into our identity, is that our approach is that we're all inclusive. We're trying to be all encompassing. Like people that haven't or never considered even tasting rum, like I actively have been encouraging people to drink it neat as opposed to with. So like we're seeing like a much broader demographic be interested in this, you know, because like they see us as the new kids in town, whatever, and their curiosity's piqued, right? So as they would have seen like a well-established company or something like that they is kind of, you know, not blind to them, but they see us being out there beating feet.
Part of the Rat Pack.
Yeah,
You know,
like-
everyone can have his little rat in them. Here's a funny, just like part of it. Imagine him in Ireland at an Irish whiskey conference with a bottle of rum in his hand, giving us
so,
samples.
I went. It's sorry for everybody that I upset, but I went.
At least you made it out alive.
Well, yeah. Again, different story for a different time. Maybe off camera, but I went home
hit on his head.
April of this year because my two sisters still live in Ireland, and my nephew and niece, and I hadn't seen them since COVID, and obviously my school friends and family, cousins and stuff that I hadn't seen in a long time, and I went back and I brought a few bottles of rum because I've got quite a few friends in the industry, bar owners, everything in between, and I was quite excited for them to try it. So, unbeknownst to me, there had been a lot of work had went into Belfast Whiskey Week. So there was conventions and conferences, and there was pairings and restaurants and all this sort of stuff. And I rocked up with a couple of bottles under my arm, and I literally got looked at, kind of what are you doing showing up to Whiskey Week with rum? I was like, just hear me out. This was not planned. I'm really not trying to upset the apple cart. Just try it. So invariably, I'd line up a few, and they would entertain me. Essentially, they'd be like, all right, if it shuts you up. So I would pour some out, and then invariably they would try it, and they'd be like,
he got it.
It's good. It's good. Yeah. It's good. I can't argue. And I was like, I'm sorry, that's all I wanted. I don't mean to, any more PR than anything like that. And
right.
It's good. I even went a friend of mine, he's a tattooist, and I was having a 10-hour session on my back, and he has a small startup whiskey that he's being very successful with. And I was like, I just want your opinion. That's all I want. I'm not expecting anything more or anything less. Same story. Went out before the start of the session, poured them, and he's like, damn it, that's good. So that's how we knew they were onto the right thing. When we were getting that kind of feedback, you can't really get better than that. So.
Right. If you can turn whiskey bourbon drinkers and they don't and that show that respect, say, all right, this isn't what I thought rum is.
Yeah.
Right.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
What I said in the questionnaire, you're just like, what are you doing in this business? What part of the fun of the business is actually changing minds and hearts, and people, people are strict drinkers to their specific alcohols, and it's hard. If I'm a gin drinker, I'm a ginger. I'm a vodka drinker. And rum is just hard sell on some people but when they get something that actually has a bourbon profile like this, they go, oh wow, this is dry, this is sippable, this is something that's I've never seen.
In there,
I didn't know rum could be this way.
Right, it's not sugary, which the
biggest.
That's
the thing. That's the thing everyone jumps to.
Right.
Oh, I don't like rum; it's sweet. I'm sure you need to try this rum.
Right. Yeah.
And invariably, you do see people that if they take the time to approach you, usually the funny part is specifically females say, I don't like rum. And I say, okay, if you're just willing to give us a shot, no pun intended, and try it, and invariably they're like, actually, that's really good. I wasn't expecting it to be good, so it's.
A lot of talk of this rum. Are you going to crack this bottle, or?
Let's go ahead and crack this open then.
Yep,
all right. Yeah. Do you want me to hold the mic or?
Oh, I'll sit.
Okay. There you go. All
Let him do the honor. You
want me to do the pop? Okay. All right. Wow.
Be honest now, you won't hurt her feelings.
Yep.
It's very smooth.
That's usually the first thing that people say.
And even just hold, up front.
Yeah.
It's not.
Doesn't get you here.
Right, yeah. I didn't feel it there.
It is alcohol forward, and we know that.
Right.
But that after.
And now I'm getting, the bourbon.
Yeah.
The barrels on the back, right?
You get the sweetness initially, and you get a little bit of that
bit,
caramel.
You get those bananas and those tropical coconuts and bananas and that pineapple, because that's the yeast strain right off the nose and in the mouth, and then that bourbon hits you in the back.
Bourbon, bye-bye.
And now on the second taste, now it's kind of cool. Now oh yeah, I can definitely see this being
almost a little bit floral by the second taste.
Yeah. I can definitely see this being you can be a sipper. Yeah, for sure.
For a 5-year, that's...
For a 5, I think it's impressive as a 5. Great cocktail mixer, though. It's priced right.
Right.
It's priced in that, mid-rail price. It's not a well liquor. This isn't going to go in the well.
So what is it going for here in Canada? Well, not here
In Canada. In Canada, we are $39.50.
All right.
And the licensees get a little deal on that, and we support the licensees on the back end. Yeah, it's been fine. That number hits right. That's Canadian dollars, so I think what would be the exchange roughly?
Yeah, you're probably talking 32.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
30,
30 bucks.
32.
All right, yeah, that's not bad. For a craft rum that's made,
in an origin country.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
And honestly, like being like the small town that we mentioned earlier on, like one of the restaurateurs there, he's Italian and is very into obviously his wines and his pairings and everything. So I went in and I said, I gave him a little bit of the background, but I said, all I want is your honest opinion, like from the tasting. And he pretty much said the same thing as you. Like, but the other thing that he said was, he says it's a conversation piece. He said, that's the uniqueness of it, because it is part of the hindrance now, obviously, with us starting out. But he said he liked that, because he's going to gift them to friends of his for Christmas. And then the first question is, well, where do you get it? So that exclusivity of it is, working on our favor a little bit right now, because they like it. And then because they like it, the very next thing is to say, how do I get some?
And the bars are doing off sales. So that's a new thing that happened in Canada.
Yeah.
So you can walk into any bar and walk out with a bottle of booze.
Oh, okay.
And you know what? And that really helps. The bar will put, they'll add $5 to it, and the taxes get paid.
Right.
And you know what? If anything a bar can do to make a little bit extra right now is the best thing you can do. And we're down to support.
And we had a lot of, we're not controlled nearly like in Canada, right? And I know, and we're not a major ABC state, like elsewhere in the U.S., right? So a lot of people are very jealous that, that here in Florida, we're pretty much wide open, right? But of course, the challenge of that is there's the whole distribution.
Right. That's what we're, we would love to be taught. If someone, many listeners are interested in talking to us about helping us distribute, Florida, Chicago, Illinois, New York State, California, anybody, we'd love to talk to you about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I definitely think if you guys haven't yet is to, do that introduction maybe today. Again, we're taping it here on Sunday, the second day of the Miami Rum Renaissance when you're listening to this. But is try to run into, and I'll introduce you to whoever I see, is maybe the Florida Rum Society. There might be people here from that, right? Because that's the people you want to get in front of, right?
Yeah.
That's the Florida Rum Society. My understanding is we're one of the largest, at least in the U.S.
And they have bars. They represent bars.
And they have other places, right? And then they're going to be a larger margin. Those are the, So... Yeah, no, that's really good. I can't wait to try it in a cocktail. Especially, I know you've got your daiquiri, your version of the daiquiri. I may like to. I wanted to maybe try it on the OG.
Okay,
but
I guys tell you a cocktail we're kind of throwing out here: coconut water, but real coconut water.
Okay.
Don't buy the sweetened stuff. A little bit of lemongrass, but you have to muddle it, or either soak it in a tea and then cool it, and then ginger.
Raw ginger, but you basically make a ginger lemongrass tea. You get that cooled, coconut water, this rum on the rocks, make a lime wedge in there. It's like our version of a mojito. Yeah.
Or I'm telling you, a little lemongrass mojito, a little mint in there too. I love fresh herbs. I love that kind of feel. That's a real good tropical. It's basically a cure.
And if you like a little bit,
medicine.
If you like a little bit of sweetness, like pure pineapple juice, goes well with that mix.
Or real cane sugar, like if you can get a block of like proper cane sugar, like you buy the dulce.
I don't think it's gonna be hard here.
Just scrape a little bit of dulce in there, muddle it down, and
I definitely could see it as we were talking about as medicine. And again, back to my, we were talking before we were just a little bit ago talking about my grandmother, and it always would be, it's like, make you a little hot toddy, and she'd make it with my
cure-all.
I love a hot toddy.
My parents, scotch, that they've had in the house or whatever. So I'm like, I could see going with that.
That's hot toddy season in Canada right now.
Yeah.
Let's get those hot apple ciders, and get some local apple cider in Kincardine, and
eggnog
Anderson Farm
for the season,
eggnog, and a hot toddy, man. Woo. Those are drinks that you can.
Hot butter rum.
It's all good.
Yeah.
There's a local bar down, and the owner's mother made a rum cake out of this. Wonderful. I was like, I could sell this.
There you go. Well,
I'm not in the rum cake business.
Look, our hot toddy and season doesn't really start till January, so we've got still at least. They said we're in the 80, low to mid 80s right now, and it's not usually we don't get the actual cold until January, and then it's like maybe a month and a half, 2, and then we're back to our normal. So welcome to Florida.
You know what the fun part of this is every bar that has our rum makes their own drink out of it.
Yeah.
And they have their own signature drink. And we actually go around, we actually brought a videographer out and we film those drinks and support those bars. Cool. And you can kind of do a bar hop and just try a different drink every time.
And I think that's a big thing. A lot of the newer and younger brands that are coming out seems like you get it is you have a product, and I know, look, it's a lot of effort, especially a lot of brands, micro and craft, and is right a few people behind the product, right? So they've got to do the sales, they got to go do the tastings at the liquor stores, they got to pound the pavement.
Yeah.
And also too, what it sounds like you guys are doing is you've got to support the ecosystem, right? It's the whole thing, right?
Yeah, it's the community.
Right. Is without this doesn't survive, and this doesn't survive, right? Yeah. Without the product that gets sold, and then everything.
And there's just a ton of support out there.
Yeah.
I mean, even our licensees in Toronto, we have a lot of support there. Really cool, what you'd think would be dive bars from the outside, you get in there and they look like movie sets. I'm just thinking like Communist Daughter, 222, Skyline, all these fun places in Parkdale. I mean, it's really cool. I love it. Little Sisters, that's a great one. I'm not sure if you know Robin from Rum Royale. He's a big rum dude. He's got great cocktails. It's insane. And he's got probably one of the best rum collections ever.
Look, it's the ones that have their own identity. Like, they're not chains, they're not because it's the real people. Like, you get to meet the owners and the people that work there and everything like that, and that's the community aspect that really appeals to us.
And generally these owners are actually bartending now. The owner's always there because it's been hit hard, right? And but they're into it. They're really into it.
If anything that the Bar Rescue show TV show shows you is the owner has to be into, or why you're going to lose your business, right?
I can't imagine. If you're on that show, you probably shouldn't be in the bar industry.
No, but the other thing, whenever they see us, we're not trying to make a quota. We're not rocking up in our suits and everything like that.
Yeah. Forcing people to buy X.
No, and we have that personable relationship with those people, right? They're the ones that will be. If they need us to restock or anything like that, we'll literally be calling our cell phones, you know, and it's that personable piece that is important to us.
Yeah, it's kind of like I said about the podcast, right? Come on and
enjoy some rum.
Exactly.
Well, we appreciate
have a conversation.
It. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Hopefully you don't have to put the closed captions on, because the other funny thing about
we're not done yet. I was just saying.
We're segueing.
Segue. There you go. Yeah, segue. So. Segue here. So who's the drummer?
I grew up with a drum set. I wouldn't say I'm a drummer because I didn't drum in a band.
Okay.
I can keep a beat.
Okay.
I can do it.
Just can't dance, but you can keep a beat.
Yeah. Was that clave last night throwing you off?
I don't. I think when you put that mask on, you can't really see. So when I was dancing with the girl, she just came out of nowhere, and I bumped into her, and then I was like, I can't see you, just so you know. And she could dance. She knew how to dance.
Sounds like excuses.
Yeah.
Right. He said, he said he couldn't see, but he didn't say he couldn't hear.
Oh, or feel.
Right, or feel.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Her husband was totally cool with it too, and then he threw that rat mask on. I think he wanted to borrow it for the night.
No, man. You could tell he immediately regretted it after he put it on.
Yeah, sorry, I've been breathing into that all night.
Hey, listen, guys. We don't kink shame, so whatever the role playing they want to do, go for it. Okay?
That's right. Hey. Each to their own.
Yes. Yep. So speaking of odd segue is in the mask is here. So the Florida Panthers here is the local hockey team, right? And so, I guess we could be talking about hockey, but we aren't. And there's a whole story with the Panthers and a rat.
Oh.
So people throw these fake rats on the ice, like kind of like in Detroit where they throw the octopus, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, that's great.
So the story
good to
behind
know.
the rat is Scott Mellenby during I think it was the Stanley Cup Finals in the mid-90s. There was when they used to play downtown Miami, there was a rat that was either in the dressing room or somewhere and he was scurrying past them and he slap shotted it and that's how this rat story kind of stuck about was the Panthers and and this rat thing. So it just oddly came to mind when we're talking about the mask and so forth.
Well, it'd be good. We could reach out to the Panthers.
Well, reach out to we need a spokesperson in the hockey league.
We get you a
There
slap
you
shot
go.
on the head with
There
your
you
rat
go.
mask
Yes.
on.
Yeah, there you go.
Animal cruelty.
Yeah. Just don't tell them you're Maple Leafs fans, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean.
So music, right? So that's this Warped Tour story.
Oh yeah, so I out of high school, I dropped out of high school. I went back eventually, and then went to college for a year and dropped out of that one. But I took my college fund and bought a camera, and I ended up touring. I was making skateboard videos, snowboard videos, kind of having fun with that kind of scene. And I luckily met the manager of Sum 41, and they hired me to tour around with them for almost 3 years, maybe a little bit more. And we ended up doing the Warped tours and hanging out with all the bands and rubbing elbows with all the fun people. It's a great time. That's another community. That music scene, that Warped Tour scene in the 2000s was a community. Like we would go to like people's houses and afterwards
And hang
some of
out.
the band's house. It would
Right.
be, we'd like end up at Fat Mike's house in San Francisco and hanging out all night. And, Byron from Pennywise hanging out, and Jim, and like we're like, dude, this is a really cool, supportive, really supportive scene. That punk rock scene was like everyone just helping everyone out. There was no animosity, and it was fun. It was a really fun time. Unfortunately, cell phones all got better cameras than I could have, and everyone turned into a videographer. Yeah. So my camera was $5,000.
Right.
The iPhone films in 5K now, but 100 times better than my $5,000 camera in 2000. So basically, everyone became a better videographer than me.
Not necessarily. I would say maybe the video might be quality, but usually it's going to be a whole lot of video that you're watching is like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, the stabilization actually got better.
Two hints when you're filming: look at the horizon, keep it straight, and do not zoom as much as you think.
Yeah, 'cause
Just
that
stop
distorts the.
zooming in and out. Yeah. Just film, walk up, walk down. That's just secrets.
All right, so welcome to Shamus' TED Talk on
There you go.
videography.
No. You can watch my Instagram still. Well, actually, you're doing most of the filming. Yeah, I'm doing the dancing now.
I know.
I guess I'm talent now.
Yes,
No,
you are.
I didn't know what I was doing. I just know that what really bugs me when I watch videos is exactly that. Is the filming during an earthquake type.
Well, usually when you're at a concert and you've been drinking, that's a little hard to. Yeah. But I think the camera's got a little bit better with stabilization, but
Yeah, we did a lot of. We were partying back in the day. We did a lot of drinking.
Yeah.
Well, we were in a mosh pit relatively recently.
We were
Just making sure we still had it.
Oh, okay.
I had to snow-plow my way to the.
Yeah,
front.
I'm 150 pounds soaking wet, so we were in the Idols pit, and without him, I probably wouldn't have made it out.
Well,
So this
Oldest guy in the pit, though.
So this wasn't like an episode of Canadian version of the Grown Ups Adam Sandler movie, was it? Right, to see if you still got it.
well, it was more to prove to myself, not to anybody else.
Yeah, I'm not like Steve Buscemi hanging upside down on the swing and like not dropping, just hit it. Yeah, well, maybe close to that. I was getting pushed around the pit by a bunch of 20-year-olds. So
Yeah, right. All right, Dad.
I was like, I'm out of my element.
Okay, boomer. It's like, no.
Yeah,
I tell my kids, I'm like, I'm not a boomer. I'm a Gen Xer, so I'm.
You know what? I'm totally happy standing in the back and leaning on the wall and enjoying the show now.
It's a different.
Yeah,
approach.
but that energy's there, and it's kind of fun.
No, and that's what at least what our podcast and show is all about, right? I know it's, as I've mentioned many times, I had the name first, and it just stuck, and I said, what do I want to do with it? And then it finally clicked about doing the podcast, and then talking with Rob Burr, and he says it's like milkshakes and hand grenades. drums and rums, they don't seem to go together, except for that they rhyme, but it works.
No,
right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Drumming's the backbone of all good bands. So, and you
But
know
look,
what I mean? And rum is the backbone of all good liquor.
And
And good times.
Yeah, exactly.
And good times.
Wait,
The
how-
backbone of good
Synonymous
times.
with vacation,
Right.
you know.
So yes, can you enjoy music without alcohol? Certainly, right. So we know people do actually, not everybody drinks, right? But for whatever the reasons, and that's actually one of the challenges of trying to have some drummers on who are in recovery, and it's like I could never get Ringo Starr on the show because he's never going to pay attention, but he's also in recovery. A couple other drummers too, but anyway. But but you're always going to have, for the most time, you're having a good time, and this is what I try not to be negative. I try to be very much positive. Try to be right. We're having a great time, which we're doing right now.
Yep.
And well, I'm sure tonight and today we'll
be a fun night.
we'll be running
Yep.
into each other, and it's the same thing about the music part.
Yeah.
Right. It goes hand in hand.
Well, I think
especially where what a lot of the rum is made is in the Caribbean.
Yep.
Very.
The drum forward kind of
Exactly,
music.
right,
That's
yep.
shaking those hips.
That's
That's what I got to learn. Anyone want to give me some lessons? I'm in.
Please, we'll put a
Oh, wait,
number
I-
across
yes,
the bottom.
I might have to
Here.
get some hips first.
Make this an appeal video.
Can you train string bean to dance?
Yes. Please send your
Donations to
your GoFundMe page.
I think with the alcohol is everything in moderation. We really preach that. You have in an AGOC license and your smart serve, you need to know body weight indexes and you need to know what someone can handle. And I think drinking in moderation can be healthy enough, but it's when you get overboard. And I think if you're ever a rock star at one time in your life, it's no moderation. It's a party every night and 1,000 people want to party with you. Everyone's got the drugs, they got the alcohol, they got the girls, they got the cars, and there's nothing moderate about that. So when you've lived a 10-year or 20-year rock star lifestyle, you pretty much have to be in recovery from everything,
Right.
not just alcohol, but just the lifestyle. And I think that's respectable. That's fine. That's
Right.
just their journey, right? I'm just on a different journey.
Yeah. And
Not a rock star.
And does most of the musicians nowadays that are coming up have learned some of that excess of the 80s and the 70s and 60s?
yes.
And,
Yeah.
they're not as crazy. People say there's no more craziness anymore in music. I mean, there is, but...
Well, the interesting thing, you talk about Gen X, Gen Z seems to have literally put the speed brakes on that, where... Like in the UK and Ireland specifically, there was the big binge drink culture.
Yeah. Right.
Chugging.
Oh yeah, and from just the lifestyle in general, the joke about what's the difference between an Irish wedding and an Irish funeral? One less drunk. So there's the culture that you're brought up with now.
See,
but
you're gonna get
the
a
Gen
limit.
Z, to my points earlier on.
That's fucked
they're
up,
more
you
picky.
know that?
They're not just going to go walk in and
They're going to spend the extra $10 on a good bottle of booze they have on the shelf for 2 weeks
enjoy it.
and enjoy it properly and
Right.
know that it's not additive forward. And also, they're into psychedelics. There's a psychedelic movement happening, and everyone's expanding their mind because everyone seems a little bit fucked up from this pandemic. You can't wrap your head around it.
It's supposed to be a non-swearing podcast.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Beep.
This is Sunday at church here, the Church of Rum.
That's right.
We'll just
There you
cut that. You can beep that out.
Yeah,
And the
there you go.
psychedelic part.
Yeah,
From it.
yeah.
But the Gen Z specifically, because from being involved in this and trying to go it the right way, we talked about the product. As soon as they find out that we're not a group of folk, brewing it in our bathtub type, where, and the taste, speaks for itself. That's again appeals to the Gen Z because you have that authenticity, you have that heritage. They're the ones that are willing to do that a little bit more research, right? So. And
I think everyone wants to travel too, and that's what we're offering.
Yeah.
If you can't afford to travel, or you've got work and stuff, you can kind of get a travel in a bottle.
Yeah.
You can kind of experience Panama, and you want to experience, Nicaragua, Costa Rica. You want to experience, Haiti. You want to experience anywhere, Barbados. You have every style of those rums on your shelf, and you can kind of travel through the flavor of rum.
Yeah.
And that's why we wanted to stick with a single origin release, because we want to bring the Panama to your shelf.
Right. Rum Passport.
Rum Passport.
There you go.
That's another name. Yeah. Maybe call this one podcast Rum Passport.
We'll start. Yeah. We'll. The ideas are flowing. That's it. Once you open that bottle.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys ready for the rapid fire segment here? Did you know about that?
No, tell us
That's
about
right.
it.
Yeah, because you just learned about me yesterday, so you have no context of what you've gotten yourselves actually into here.
No.
So, all right. So this is what we do is we hit up all the guests with a rapid fire questions. First thing that comes to mind. Don't overthink it, and it's called In 4 Sips or Less. Okay. Now, if this was a drum podcast, we do call it In 4 Beats or Less, but obviously you guys are the rummers. All right.
Yeah.
So since there's 2 guests here, we will go with both of you to answer these questions. So number 1, In 4 Sips or Less, neat or on ice?
Neat.
I like a cold drink, but yeah, neat first always. First drink neat, second drink ice.
Okay. All right. And that's always the kickoff question for all the rummers, so everyone gets that question.
Do we not got buzzer?
Beep.
Beep. Our survey says.
You're going to win fabulous prizes. All right. So In 4 Sips or Less, first rum you ever had?
Lambs.
Yeah, Bacardi.
Okay.
Bacardi white rum, hangover.
Oh.
I was 16.
All right, so here we go. So In 4 Sips or Less, sticking to the brand here, we're going to kind of stay along with it. Mighty Mouse, Mickey Mouse, or Splinter?
Splinter. Come on. You guys see the map?
TMNT.
I
TMNT.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm glad you said Splinter because we would have
TRTLE
definitely probably
part.
gotten sued by Disney for making likeliness of
Teenage Mutant.
yeah.
Yeah, I got a joke for your dad after this. Remind me on the
Okay,
Disney subject.
you got it. All right, so we're gonna stay Canadian.
Eh?
Get a.
Bob or Doug McKenzie?
Oh, both so great. I'll go with Bob. It's my uncle's name.
I'll go with Bob because it's my middle name.
So for those of you who don't get the reference here, I guess if you're listening to this and you're Canadian, exactly, you get the reference.
How are you doing there, eh? Oh, who wants some rummers? Okay, that's out for a rip, bud.
Now, wasn't there a scene when they went to the government store to
Yeah.
go get his dad his beer, and they brought in the mouse in the bottle?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So that was like a scam you could do in high school. You could get a case of beer and then throw a mouse in, and the rep would come and drop a new case of beer off for you. And then just to avoid the lawsuit, the rep would just be like, "We know you're doing this, assholes," and just drop you off a case. Sorry again.
So I don't know if I don't know. Again, you guys are Canadian. You've got a brand that's called Rum Rats. Is there a tie here that you can play off on some social media?
No, we will not replace. There's no rats in our bottles ever. There's not a rat that's near the distillery. It's nothing to do with it.
And it cannot confirm
You're not
or
getting a
deny
free
he
bottle.
did this.
You're not getting a free bottle.
Well, have you
Put a
heard the
rat.
term screeching in? Are you familiar with the?
No.
If you go to Newfoundland, like if you're there for the first time, you get screeched in.
Yep.
You have to kiss the
Screech
cod.
is a rum.
Yeah.
Screech is a style of rum. It's like a sour rum.
You figuratively and literally have to kiss a fish.
Yep.
A cod.
Cod.
Okay.
And then you get screeched in. You have to take a shot of screech.
Out of the cod's mouth. No, it's good.
No.
But we'll rat someone in. We'll do the ratting in tonight. We'll give it a try.
Yeah.
You don't have to kiss any rats. Oh, you do, man. I'll wear the mask.
There you go.
You got to kiss the rat mask.
All right.
We'll get you ratted in.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys. So definitely thank you. Now, I know, like I said, I didn't come prepared because we weren't planning on this, but I'm definitely glad we talked about a little bit of guerrilla marketing, guerrilla style. Again, if you have to get out there and claw against the, bigger names to kind of make some recognition, it's kind of a little bit, I just travel with my stuff with me whenever I may run into somebody. I'm glad I did because I get a chance to meet you guys. Got to sit down here, learn more about Rum Rats, the story about you guys. Again, love it. Definitely, we're going to follow along here. So since I don't have it with me, I'm going to have to get your addresses. But normally, once you get on the podcast here, you're now gone through the rapid fire. You become alums of the podcast and the numerous folks that we've had on the show.
Awesome.
And so we'll sync up later. So I can't present you something because I don't have it.
Well, let's hold
so,
the shirt up.
So, all right,
let's hold
so
the shirt up.
So there you go.
There you go. There you go.
We'll do a part 2 in Canada.
There you go. So there you go.
This is yep. Go follow us on Instagram, the Rum Rats. Tag it. I'm throwing T-shirts around. Ask me for one. I'll send it to you.
All right. There you go.
Anything rum oriented.
So I
Get it
think-
out there on social medias. Just follow us and we'll reach out. We're always available.
Right. All right, so final wrap up here. I know you just kind of did it there, but the plug here, right? What do you want everybody to do? What do you want to hit?
Well, we're not trying to follow in anybody's footsteps. We're just trying to forge our own path here. Like, we're a small company that we're trying to put our best foot forward here. We want the rum to speak for itself. We want to be personable. We want to be genuine. Like, we want to have a good time. So
and we want to be young, dumb, and full of rum. Neither dumb nor
responsibly.
Responsibly. No binge drinking, kids. Don't drink and drive.
Is that the name? Is that the name we're going to put on this podcast? Young, dumb, and full of rum.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Okay, there we go.
He's got a tattoo in his leg. He's wearing trousers today.
You want me to pull my trousers down and show you?
No, that's all right.
Later?
No, that's all right.
All right.
I do wear a kilt now, but we're not going there.
All right.
Well, thank you very much for having us.
It, guys.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. This is fun.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Well, we're going to have lots of rum
we got a lot
tonight
more.
at the Miami Rum Renaissance. Everybody will be here next year too, so Miami Rum Renaissance.
There you go.
See us there. Come to our booth.
There you go. That's the plug we wanted. All right, guys. This is all with a pack. Don't forget to follow us on social media, like, subscribe, do all those things. You know what you need to do. And appreciate y'all for checking in. This is Paul with the Backbeats Meets Spirits. Cheers, y'all.